Okay, so shall we start? So welcome to you all to this soft skill workshop, and this is a workshop on about applying to graduate school, and both in the United States and in Hong Kong. And glad to see you all here. Actually, I've been running this seminar for a few years, and but this time I think we have the best combination of speakers since I have been running this seminar. So my name is Wang Cheng, and I'll be talking a little bit. And I did my graduate school in the US, and we have Dr. Rosa Chan. She also did her PhD in the US. And then very nicely today we have two of your senior students, To Ya Sing and Lo Ging Tong. So both of them are local undergraduate students, just like you. And then now they are doing PhD at CityU EE. And then I think they can tell you from their experience of how to apply to graduate school, how does it look like, and how does the graduate school life feel like here in Hong Kong. Right? And so I think this time around we'll ask Mr. To, Kenny, and he'll first share about his experience on PhD's admission and PhD study. Okay. So here's your pointer. Okay, you can take this. So that we can walk around.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm the PhD candidate and under the supervision of Dr. Wong. And yeah, welcome you all to come here. And I'm gonna have a postgraduate study sharing to you guys about the Hong Kong PhD life. And yeah, and let's begin. And yeah, this is me, and I'm graduate from the CityU EE in 2020, and luckily I have the HKPFS scheme to take the PhD degree also in CityU. And my research area is mainly about the antenna design and the meta surface. And why I gonna choose the PhD degree, and what is the difference between the PhD and the master degree? We have the comparison here. The MSc is career oriented. It emphasizes on the comprehensive field on what the industry needs, and also provide you a greater employment opportunities and the career advancement. And most likely they have the 1 to 2 year duration for the master degree, and mainly focus on the coursework. However, for the PhD degree, is like the preparing for the research career and emphasize on the original contribution or the idea to the current knowledge. And yeah, it's not only focused on the coursework, but also you need to focus on your research work for your publication or to generate your own idea on the current problem. And they most likely have two roles. The first one is like a student and also an employee to have the publication or some research work. So what do you earn from the PhD degree? The first, of course, is the excitement of discovering the new ideas or the new things. And also those new things or new ideas only belongs to you. So you can work independently as a one-person company and have the fruitful experience and result only belonging to you. And also it can enhance your transferable skills, such as the problem solving, the in-depth analysis, and also the critical thinking. Furthermore, you can build your own international social network with the expertise like the professor or the leader in the industry, and those social network can benefit to your opportunity to find a job. And also you are qualified for any industry position, because the PhD is the terminal degree that is the highest grade of the degree you can earn. So what person is suitable for the PhD study? The first of all, of course, is the enthusiasm or the passion on exploring the new things, and also the self-motivated and consistency, because during the PhD degree, you always facing the failure or facing the dead end of the research. So you must have the self-motivated and consistency to push you further, to push you harder. And of course, and not afraid of the failure. And also you have, another important thing is the open mind, because most likely you will have the because your work may be criticized by the expertise, and you should accept their opinion and suggestion to make you a better person. So the following will give you the insight on pursuing the PhD degree. The PhD degree have several duties, like the research, like a researcher will have a research activities, and also have the teaching activity as the teaching assistant, and also you need to fulfill the coursework and the assessment to have your graduation. So I believe you're familiar with the TA, you know what is TA doing. The TA will have the tutorial teaching to help the professor have the tutorial teaching, and also have the lab demonstration, and also the grading on the test and the exam. And also the research activity. We most likely have the conference to have the knowledge sharing with the expertise in the industry or the research area, and also have our own experiment and publication with the regular meeting with the supervisor and the colleagues. And also we have the overseas cooperative project, like cooperate with the international research institution, and also have some of the company funding project like the HKHD or Huawei. So for the coursework, it's similar to the bachelor degree. We have the assignment, test, exam, and group project, but it only takes a few courses. It's not as much as the bachelor degree, but in addition to the coursework, we also have the assessment, like the qualifying exam and the annual report, and also in the final year we will have the thesis statement. And I will explain detail in the following session. So the learning experience in the PhD. For the PhD study period, we most likely, for the full-time PhD student, we most likely have the 4 years duration. And if you have the research master degree, you can shorten the study period to 3 years. And for the part-time PhD student, it may double the time, double the duration. And I think CityU don't have this advantage of taking the research master degree can shorten your study period, but for other schools, they have such arrangement. So the coursework for the PhD study, we will have several courses, like 4 to 5 courses, about the core and the elective course. They provide the advanced knowledge in the field of the research and the industry, and provide the identification of your research direction. And for the elective, you can choose the courses from your own department or cross-department or cross-institution. And the arrangement, of course, is different between the graduate school or the department. You should take a look on it. And also we have the research methodology course. Throughout this course, you need to attend the seminar and to conduct the literature studies, to develop the research methodology, and also improve your writing and presentation skills. And furthermore, to deepen your knowledge of the relevant topic on the research area. And finally, of course, we have the teaching course to check your English proficiency, and also provide the basic knowledge that required for you to begin teaching at the university. Yeah, those are the courses in our EE department. during the postgraduate study. So for the assessment, during the year one, we need to attend the qualifying exam. It's like the probation when you have a job. Is only examined on the fundamental knowledge and separate and independent of your research topic. Like they will ask you how the circuit work or how to calculate the Ohm's law or the Maxwell equation, something like that. And also for the first year, we need to submit a qualifying report. It's like the progress report that to report your progress to your supervisor and also the qualifying panel. The qualifying panel is also the professor that other than your supervisor. And the presentation is required. While the following years, each year you need to submit any report to your supervisor and also the qualifying panel, just the same as the qualifying report, but they change the name to any report. And also you need to have the seminar to the junior postgraduate student and report your research progress to them. And the final year, of course, we will have the thesis statement similar to the FYP that to summarize your PhD study and your publication. And you also have a oral defense with the external and internal panel and also your supervisor. So how to apply the PhD study? The first step, you need to get started to check on the admission requirement, like you have to fulfill the bachelor degree with a first class honor, and also, or equivalently, you can have the master degree or the MPhil degree for your PhD application. And also you need to fulfill the English proficiency, like the minimum IELTS score is about 6.5 and TOEFL is about 79. And those requirements can be waived for the applicants from the university using English as the medium of the instruction. And also you need to check for the deadline, and most of them is about, the deadline is about 1st of the December. But they have 1 or 2 days difference between the university, so you have to check it before. And the second step is explore and prepare. This is the most important step that you need to find the potential supervisor. It's not compulsory for the application, but the professor will give you the brief idea on your research topic and give you a feedback that whether he or she is suitable for your PhD study. You need to find whether through email or through phone, through Skype, something like that. Just find them to talk about your research topic and learn more about that. And if they are suitable supervisor for you, you can nominate them to have complete your referee report for the application. This is the compulsory requirement for the application. So they mainly have two engines for the PhD study. The first one is the Hong Kong PhD Fellowship Scheme. It's established by the Research Grants Council. It's aimed to attract the best and the brightest students from around the world to pursue the PhD study in Hong Kong. They will provide the studentship to the awardee monthly, about 26K, 27K, and also have a lot of the allowance for you to go to the conference or buy something like the research equipment. And if you fail to obtain the HKPFS, you can follow the graduate school entrance, but the studentship will be decreased to the 18K per month. Yes, but the HKPFS is very competitive, and you should try hard to have to get this fellowship scheme. And the selection criteria for the PhD study, the first one is the academic excellency. I believe most of them, if you apply for the PhD degree, you already have a really good grade on your bachelor degree or master degree. And also the research ability and the potential. The journal paper is not compulsory because most of you only have a bachelor degree, but the performance in the competition and the reference letter is something that you can get during your bachelor degree, and those are important factor that for the selection panel consider your application. And also they will ask you have a good communication in interpersonal skills, like they will observe you through the interview and also the research proposal. And finally, we will have the leadership ability. Some of you may have the achievement on the instrument or some other competition. Other competition beside the academic result. So those experience can help you to get the PhD degree or the fellowship. So the first step is to create and complete your online application. So for the HKPFS applicant, you should submit your initial application to the RGC online application system, and then you need to submit a full application to the proposed university online admission system with the supporting document and also quote the RGC reference number. But if you don't apply for the HKPFS, you only need to submit the full application to the proposed university, and that will be fine. So here is the checklist for the applicant. You are required to have the official certificate and the transcript of the academic qualification, and also the research proposal. It's just a brief version of your FYP to have just briefly introduce your research topic or your research area or something you interest. And also the second important thing is the academic referee report. You will invite the professor to provide you a referee report and submit by them. You are not required to submit by yourself. You just ask them to submit to the RGC and the graduate school, and they will be fine. And finally, you need to pay the application fee and also submit the application form before the deadline. Yes, of course. And the fourth step is to check the email, because the email you will receive the submission acknowledgement through email, and also the the invitation of the interview within the 1 week through the email. They may require you to have a face-to-face interview or through the telephone or through the Skype. And yeah, they just ask the simple question like how you qualify for the PhD study, or why do you apply the PhD study, something like that. You just prepare well, and those questions can be found in Google. And so, and there may be also requests for the further information request. Yeah, so check the email is very important. So the fifth step is to check for the application status. So you finish all those things, and you finish the interview, you finish your preparation, and the result will be announced starting from March, and you can check it through the email or the online admission system. This is the place where you submit your application. So all the things you have done, and just relax and chill to wait for the result. So the final step is to accept your offer, and yeah, you of course you apply for the PhD study. You need to pay for the tuition fee. But for the local student, if you're a local student and you have and you propose a local research degree like the MPhil study or the PhD study, your tuition fee will be free. You don't need to pay for it. But if you are not local student, you need to pay for the tuition fee around 3K per month. For the part-time, you only pay for the 1.7K per month. Yeah, and it's not expensive because you will have the studentship every month, and you can cover it and also cover your daily life. So that's all of my presentation today. Thank you.
Thanks, very nice. Is there any immediate questions? I think we can be very interactive. Any questions? Oh, you can also save it for maybe after all of us talk. But if you do have any questions, you can ask right now. I think he gives a very nice introduction about the how does the PhD work and study look like, and also how the application process works. And I think it's actually more or less the same in everywhere, I think, because most of the system, like the systems of the graduate school, is originated from like the U.S., right? So it's more or less the same. Any questions? So, any? If not, then maybe we can have the Q&A maybe later. Okay, thank you. So I think because he already did a very nice introduction, I will probably skip a lot of my slides and focus on the things that I think are a little bit different in the US, and also from a faculty point of view, what we think about the application process. So a little bit about myself. So I got my bachelor degree from Tsinghua University, and then I went to the US. I got my PhD at Harvard, and then I spent 1 year as a postdoc, and then I joined CityU. This is my 4th year here. I work in the area of so-called integrated photonics and nanotechnology. So I'll tell you a few things. Maybe I won't follow the outline here because I'm going to skip some of the things. I think overall, I think Mr. To, he mostly talked about the PhD study. I'll tell a little bit about life. I think overall your life in graduate school could be fun, and because it's not really like a company, right? And you're still kind of at school, but at the same time you are not taking so many courses. So it's a little bit flexible that you could have some sort of fun, but with a few conditions. Okay, so first of all, it really depends on your advisor. So if you have a good, nice advisor, then you'll be pretty happy, I think. But I think my advice is that a nice advisor is very important, but not too nice, because I've seen advisors who just don't care and don't manage, and then it's also not good because you're there to try to learn things, right, and gain knowledge. And also, I think it's a process that you do learn a lot of things, but at the same time, you also have peers who didn't go to PhD, right? And they might go to a company and start to earn money, right? And of course, you do have studentship, but not that much, right? So you really need to be confident about yourself. So don't get jealous about your peers, right? And then also, this is for the US, right? So if you don't mind eating so-called Americanized Chinese food every day, and then you'll be fine. And also, I think a big part of the graduate school in the US is that you may be living in the middle of nowhere. And this is something, I think, especially for the US. I got this map yesterday from Google. This is a map about the largest universities in each state. And you see some of the logos are actually football team logos. And they are, each university have a culture of football and other sports. But you see that a lot of states have actually very good universities, like this is Texas A&M, right? And then you have, for example, Wisconsin, Madison, you have Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. A lot of these very, very good universities are located not in the big city, nowhere like Hong Kong, and you probably drive for many miles and see nothing. So it's very good for academic, I'd say, but for life, then it's some people like it, some people don't. Okay, and so I think I'm going to skip this part because this is about what PhD is. And then for myself, I think PhD life, the first year you may be taking some courses, and then from the second year on, it's more like repetitively doing research. So sometimes you may feel a little bit lonely and repetitive. And for myself, I work on so-called integrated photonics. We go to clean room to try to make a device, day one. And day two, you go to the lab and do measurement, right? And it doesn't work. So day three, you go back to the clean room, try to make the device again, and then do the measurement again, right? And this keeps going on and on until maybe day 2000, and then you graduate. So that's another way to look at the PhD life. And I have to say that it doesn't really take you to academia directly. So a lot of people think that this is also something I tell the students, like some of undergrad students come to me and ask me, what do I think, right? So I always tell them that PhD is not something you have to get in your life. It's not like after primary school, you go to middle school, after middle school, you go to high school, and then college. This is most people would go through, right? But PhD is not. It is a special experience that for certain people who have passion in it, right? And so my experience, I don't have statistics here, but from my personal experience, you go into graduate school, get your PhD, maybe only 10–20% becomes professors in universities. And some go to industry, like big companies. Some go to maybe finance, completely different from your major. And some maybe become high school teacher or go to government. Like it's basically could be anything, I think, could be anything. And so my takeaway on PhD is that it could be quite tough, frustrating, and lonely. But at the same time, it's a solid experience that allows you to independently leading a project that no one knows how to do. Right? I think that's the part that I feel the most excited about. Right? So this is something even your advisor doesn't know. He doesn't know about it. You know better than your advisor. And that's kind of the experience a PhD gives you. You'll be really good at a specific topic, not just superficial understanding. Right? When you go through a course, you have some understanding, but you're not really good at it. But you do it for many years, then you're really, really expert on it. Right? And then you'll get some of the interesting skills that you need. For example, machine shop. This is something that you won't expect a PhD to have it, but sometimes you need to accomplish a bigger goal, and then you need to go through things that are some of the skills that are needed. And this learning curve about when you try to accomplish something, and during that process, you need to accomplish other things. And I think that's another part of PhD that's I think pretty interesting. So before you apply, I would suggest that you think about, are you truly passionate about the subject, right? Because this is a subject that you need to deal with for many years, and not just because everybody else is doing it, right? for PhD itself and also for the subject, right? The field you're trying to apply to. Right? Are you really passionate about it? Are you excited about trying new things, right? And both during and after PhD, right? Because if you want to go to academia or even industry R&D, this is the nature of that, right? And are you okay to spend 6+ years on it? This is for the US, right? In Hong Kong, it's a little bit shorter, but there's no guarantee that you can get PhD in 4 years, right? So that's the things you need to think about, and I don't think there's just one answer for everybody, right? This is something you need to think about on your own case. Do you really want to go for it, right? And then I'll talk a little bit about the application itself. So this is experience from my personal application to US graduate schools. Information gathered from when I was at Harvard. My advisor sometimes also asked me about application, and also I myself is recruiting PhD candidates here. But of course, I only have very limited samples, so it may not be statistically meaningful. First of all, there are many different admission schemes in the US. You may see things, let me show all of these. You may see things like scholarship, TA scheme, RA scheme, or just AD admission. These are different things. And also, different universities have different admission systems. Some have a very strong committee where the committee will decide almost everything. And then some universities advisor decide, like if the advisor wants you, then he can decide. And some are in between, so that the advisor has some say, but then the committee make the final decision. So different universities have different systems, and this is also something to consider when you apply and when you contact the professors. And then there's these different schemes, as I mentioned. So scholarship is that they will give you 1 year. This is what I had at Harvard. They will give you 1 year of scholarship, which you are not affiliated to any supervisor, so you're allowed to so-called rotate. So you can try different groups before you finally find a supervisor. And then from second year on, you will be supported by your supervisor as a RA, or research assistant, if you actually find a supervisor. And then you also have these TA or RA-ship. TA means that you're supported by doing TA, and RA usually means that you're then supported by the supervisor from day one, right? So that you're not so easily, you can switch to a different supervisor. Right? And then there is also admission. This is you get admitted, but there is no money, and then you can start to. I know MIT does that. MIT has a very, very strong committee, and then almost that when you contact professors, they will say, "Don't contact me because I don't have any say." And then once you get admission, then they start to talk to you. So different universities have different systems. And then there are many factors that could affect your application results. So I listed a few that I think could somewhat affect. Right? Of course, the brand of your university matters, right? Your GPA matters, your research experience, any publications, recommendation letters, your contact with the potential advisor, right? TOEFL, GRE, and any other things that are important could affect. But in reality, I think the process is more or less a random process. Of course, you have a certain range. If you have a better package, of course, on average, you'll get more offers from better universities. But whether you get one or not get one, I think it's more or less a random process. For myself, I got offers from from Harvard, from Stanford, from Yale, from Carnegie Mellon. And then I'll tell you I got rejected by MIT, Princeton, Berkeley, Purdue, Michigan, Maryland. Why? I don't know, right? So that's why I'm trying to tell you that it's more or less a random process. So unless you're really, really, really good, I wouldn't suggest that you only apply to 1 or 2 universities, right? Because this is a process that you really can't control. And I'd suggest that you apply for a few and then try to find out the one that really fits you. Right? And then, so I think I listed all of these things, and I've seen cases that can show that all these factors on their own could be unimportant. I've seen students with very low GPA still get very good offers. I've seen students without any research experience still get good offers. Right? So all of these on their own, I think it could be unimportant. But you need to have something that could convince people. Right? You can't say that this is not important, that is also not important. You at least need something that could convince your potential supervisor that this is good. You're good enough for his or her group. Right? So I would say that you could try to think about these things, and then try to think how you could strengthen at least one aspect of your package so that it makes it more convincing. Right? And then about contact potential supervisors, Mr. To also said, I think this is very important. And the offers I got, as I just mentioned, more or less have some contact with supervisor. And of course, different universities have different systems. But when a professor wants to, when he really wants you, then you get a really good chance. Right? Otherwise, you are just inside a pool of thousands of applicants. How do you stand out? Right? So this, I think this is very important, and especially, I think if you're doing this, if you're applying to Hong Kong university like CityU, you have to, I think, without supervisor's endorsement, actually the process won't start. So you have to have some contact with the supervisor. And I've seen people saying that you'd read the professor's papers and then ask them technical questions in order to get reply from them. I think you don't need to do that. I think it's a waste of everybody's time because this is a two-side choice. Right? You try to find a good supervisor trying to find a good student. So if he thinks you're good enough, then he would reply to you. Right? So just make it clear that make it clear about your intention and tell him that I want to apply to you, I'm interested in your research, and tell him what's the strengths in your background, right? And that's what he wants to know. Right? And then, be serious about your letter. I've received a lot of inquiry letters, and then there are grammar problems. The first paragraph have different fonts from the second paragraph, and it doesn't matter, right? But it shows that you didn't even put efforts into your letter to him, right? And why would he reply to you? Right? And then try to emphasize your strengths and so tell him, right, try to convince him or her why he or she should admit you. So that's what I want to say. And then I think having a good advisor is much more important than the brand of the university for PhD. For undergrad, probably not, right? But for PhD, I think it's really important because in the end of the day, people look at your publications, your recommendation letters, right? rather than looking at where you graduate from. So I think finding a good supervisor is much more important than the university itself. And this is someone, and not just his academic capability, but also his personality. Because this is someone you need to deal with in the next 5-6 years. And you can't say that I can tolerate. It's not like that. So you can ask people from the group or from their neighboring group which supervisor is good, which is not. Usually people are pretty willing to reply to your emails. If the people in their group doesn't reply to you, then it says something already, I think. And then some of you may be asking, should I get a master first? How many of you are thinking about master? Okay, yeah, actually quite a lot. Right? So what I think is, if your final goal is PhD, I think generally speaking, you don't have to have a master. And here, I think at CityU, we don't differentiate anymore. So whether you have a master or not, it's all 4-year program. And I think in the US, my experience is that they don't care. So whether you have a master or not. So your length of study would be the same. Yeah, so duration of PhD is regardless of whether you have a master or not. So, and most master programs in the US are taught only 1 to 2 years. You're only taking courses. And so that doesn't really help you to get, I think if you do a research-based program, it could help. But if it's course only, then it doesn't have to help. So unless you think some part of that program could help your package, right? The six things that I talk about. If you think there's one thing that you're really weak, and then you do a master program can improve that, then I think it may help, right? But other than that, I don't think it really helps, right? And you are already at CityU. I think we are not the best university in the world, but I think the name of CityU definitely doesn't hurt. Right? So you're at a good, decent university. If you have good GPA, then people would look at your package. There's no problem with that. Right? And but it will be good if you want to get some master degree and then go to industry, find a job, right? And then, but that's a completely different path, right, than going to PhD. Of course, you also need to think about the funding. Right? So most of the master programs are self-funded. And I think this is towards my last 2 slides. There's a few current challenges, and one is COVID. And this is a quote, actually, because yesterday I was looking at my slides 2 years ago. This was November 12th, my previous talk on the same topic. I was trying to say, I said that COVID-19 likely not to going to normalize before end of 2021. So I was pretty good at predicting this. But this time, I do think that the Western countries may return to normal in late 2022, I think. And we'll check maybe another 2 years how it goes. And that's what I think. So I think this may be, if you're, I think right now is probably a better time to think about going to, for example, US for PhD than 2 years ago. But there are also other challenges, right? I think the geopolitical problems right now is also a challenge. Actually, especially for students from mainland China, I think you may have visa issues, may have investigation at immigration, may have harsher OPT. You will know what these are if you go to the US. These are very important if you want to stay in the US for longer times. The OPT, H-1B visa, and green card, these would probably going to be harsher than before, I think. But overall, I think the research strength in the US is still much better than anywhere else. So I still encourage you to apply if you have seriously considered all these different things. But you do need to take that into account that you may not be able to return home every year. That's a reality, I think. And finally, there's also many other places that you could consider. They more or less have the same system. Canada, UK, Europe, for example, Switzerland, Japan, Australia, they all have pretty good universities and pretty good systems. So they would also be, I think, would be worth looking into if you are interested, okay? Okay, so I think that's all I want to say. And again, I would like to see if you have any questions up to this point. Yes?
How much importance do you attach to finding a right direction of your research? Because one of my reasons of continue a master degrees to maybe give me more time to think about what I'm gonna do in the future or in the research.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think when you're asking this question, maybe you're trying to push something that you don't want to do to a later stage. Because I think it's actually the application process is a very good process where you would look at a lot of different universities, different supervisors, what they actually do. And you may not understand exactly what they do, right? But by looking at their website, you have a sense of what the research is about. And I think during the process, you really can learn a lot. And you can try to see what you really want to do. Right? And which year are you right now?
Year 3.
Year 3, right? You still have a lot of time. Right? By the deadline would be in almost 1 year. Right? So if you're really determined to do a PhD, or even if you're not, then you can start to look into that from now. Right? And then you can start to talk to people, talk to your friends. You can talk to professors here. Right? You can talk to us if you find some of the areas interesting. Right? You can. I think you can do that. And if you do a master, I don't think that really, just from the courses, I don't think it really helps you have a much deeper understanding on the subjects.
Okay, thanks.
Yes?
Dr. Wong, I have a question about also the master. Yeah, I think some universities in the US, if I want to apply for a PhD in one university in US, and I don't think I can success, and if it is a good chance to apply for the master for the same university before I can get in, before I can get the PhD.
Yeah, of course. So, but that's, I think, what I was trying to say. Of course, you may get to the master program of a better university, right? But that's a different program from their PhD program. I think the reality is. Right? So it's two different things. Right? So if you really want to get a degree, whatever degree from a good university, then of course getting a master is a good path. Right? But I think, I don't know if I make that clear. So I think it's two different things.
Will it be helpful to apply the PhD?
So I think it may not. Right? So it may, but it may not. Right? So if you have If you have a master degree in a good university, it may not help when you try to apply for a PhD. And then, of course, when you get more experience, I think you probably get more chance, right? But you also have time and money spent there. Right?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong.
Yes?
Dr. Wong, I would like to have a few questions. So the first one is that as you mentioned, during the admission process, the supervisor actually may or may not have certain limit of power to say yes or no, whether you get into. So how do we know?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think I'm trying to find online. Or if you email me, I'll tell you what I know.
Okay.
And, yeah, but
okay, yeah.
Normally, I think you can find most of the information online.
Oh, you mean on like forums or?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I see.
Yes,
okay, thank you.
Yes. But I think there's no harm to contact anyways.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Wong,
yes.
I was wondering, since as an undergrad, I may start to prepare, like starting some research, trying to do some research or increase my academic performance. I'm thinking which way I should put more weight on it. Like, since if you start doing research, it may affect your academic performance. So I'm thinking which one is more important?
I can't say, I think. Both are important, right? And so that's something you have to, of course, if you can, I would suggest you get both, right? And then, but if you have to choose one, then that's what I was trying to say, right? So you try to make your package convincing enough, at least from one aspect. For example, you're really strong in research. You get very strong letter from your supervisor, especially here. I think a lot of our professors have contact overseas, right? So if they tell their friend, this student is the best student I've ever supervised, then of course I think that's a very big push for your application. Right? But at the same time, if your GPA is 4.3, then I think it's also a very good thing, right? So I think that's something. I don't think there is one way or another, and it also depends on the supervisor. Some supervisor I know, they just like to collect the #1 students from any university, right? And some of them just don't care about GPA, and then they just look for students with research experience. Right? So I think that's what I think.
Thank you.